Hello, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Owen Lowry. I'm the Agribusiness Editor with the Farmers Journal, and I'd like to welcome you all here to our second session of the day. We've 30 minutes. This session is entitled See the World, and I suppose what this session's aim is to demonstrate how exciting a career in ag is and where it can bring you around the world. So I'm joined by three panelists who are exceptionally well traveled, and even more so than myself, I'm told. So first of all, we have Cathal McCormick on the far left, who's country manager with Alltech Ireland. We have Sarah Gavin, who's marketing manager at Irish Thoroughbred Marketing, and Kieran Sweeney, who's general manager of Fife's ripening operation out in Swords. So we'll have 30 minutes. I'll probably hand over to each of them first to give a brief introduction about themselves, and then we'll have an open conversation to try see what travel has done for their careers. So, Cathal, maybe to you first. You can tell a little bit the audience a little bit about yourself.
Thanks very much, Owen. As Owen said, my name is Cathal McCormick. I'm from a little village in Roscommon called Tulsk. I come from a farming background. We have 35 suckler cows at home. I suppose in terms of education, I suppose went a somewhat unusual route in terms of education. I started off doing agri-business. First year of my course was in Mount Bellew Ag College, followed by GMIT, and I actually finished up doing a degree in business, a BBS in business in GMIT. So after leaving college, I worked for a year with the Roscommon Partnership Leader Company, and after that, the position presented itself with Macra na Firma, so I worked with Macra for 4 years. To be honest, I got a great education. Macra, it really showed me how to work with people and get on with people. I think that's absolutely crucial, which I'll go into more detail in after a while. After that, then 9 years ago, a position came up, a regional sales manager position came up with Alltech. So I worked at that for a number of years, and a number of years ago, I was promoted to country manager. So I suppose maybe quite unlike some of the other panelists, I'm actually based in Ireland. I've always been based in Ireland, but I suppose I've travelled quite extensively in that I've worked with a number of projects and with a number of programs within Alltech that has led me to travel to, I suppose, 20 plus countries around the world. So I know, do you know about Alltech? Alltech, we're an animal nutrition company. We've offices in 132 countries around the world. 4,500 employees and sales of 2.3 billion.
Okay.
I suppose what we do, we supply nutritional products to help the performance and health of all species of animals. Okay. So I suppose that's a bit of an introduction in terms of who I am and my background and Alltech.
All right, thanks, Cathal. Sarah?
I'm from Crockwell in County Galway. I'm working in the thoroughbred industry. So I grew up on a farm. My mum trained race horses, so it was all horses mad growing up. And from then, to be honest, when I finished school, didn't know what I wanted to do because it was all about horses. But I did an arts degree. But meanwhile, the whole time I was riding out the race horses at home when I was doing my arts degree. Finishing the arts degree, still unsure. I went to France for a year to work in a racing yard there because I thought, well, at least I'll make contacts, learn a language, it'll be help. But when I was there, I thought maybe marketing, advertising would tie both all together. So I came back and I did a postgrad in advertising. From there, I did an internship with the Irish Fields, and I started working in an advertising agency, which had a range of clients, not all racing clients. One client in particular was racing. And that gave me the skill set to try and apply to break into the thoroughbred industry. I went home again and I was managing our bloodstock interest at home, training, a little bit of race riding. But then, meantime, always doing night courses, particularly in digital marketing. I could see that was the way that things were going. So ITM, there was a position there. Someone was on leave, and I just went to help, and I just kept working really hard. I started off as marketing assistant, marketing executive, and now I'm the marketing manager. So I from an earlier age, I was like, I always wanted to work in the thoroughbred industry. So I identified that maybe marketing was something that I could do to tie both of them together. And so it's a really good fit for me.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. And Kieran.
Okay, my name is Kieran Sweeney. I'm the General Manager of Fife's Ripen Distribution Centre in Swords. I started my career with Fife's back in 2010. On completion of a degree in Food and Agri-Business Management, I entered a graduate programme. And for 2 years I spent training all aspects of the business, predominantly based in Central America, learning the production of bananas and pineapples. I had placements in Costa Rica, Panama and Belize, learning about all aspects of the production, right from planting right through the harvest. On completion of my placement in Central America, I went back and worked for Fife's in the UK, worked for Fife's in Ireland in a marketing position, and then went on to manage our operations and distribution centre in Swords. How I entered a career, I'm from a tillage farm outside Dundalk in County Louth, and was always interested in agriculture and the food industry. I seen limited opportunities at home on the farm, so pursued a degree in agriculture. During that degree, I would have intended initially, I suppose, maybe working as a sales rep or working in an advisory role within Ireland. But when an opportunity to travel came up with Fife's, I jumped at the programme. So just to give you a bit of background on Fife's, I'm sure you are well familiar with the brand, but we're the largest tropical fruit importer of bananas, pineapples and melons across Ireland and Europe. And we sell approximately 70% of all the tropical fruit within the Irish marketplace.
Okay, thanks, Kieran. Maybe turning to you, Cathal, first. You're typical, I suppose, of the person that works in an ag industry. You're working for a multinational company across, I think it's 130 odd countries. You're based in Ireland, but you've had a huge opportunity, I suppose, to get into different markets and into different countries. Maybe give the audience a feel for where you've travelled to, and why that has been important for your career in what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I suppose I've travelled to a number of different countries. I suppose I am passionately a farmer, and at the end of the day, and that's why I think when I travel to countries and I see something of interest, I really take an interest in it, because at the end of the day, I really see myself to a certain extent as a farmer. So it's hard to remove the farm from the farmer at the end of the day. So I suppose a few interesting places I've been to, probably in terms of dairy farming, I was on a farm in South Africa, a really impressive place for agriculture. You never hear too much about agriculture in South Africa. It's a great place for agriculture. So on a farm, Roebuck farm, owned by a guy called Nigel Locke. So basically, he was running 800 dairy cows on his farm, tremendous grazing management on his farm, a grass-based farm, an area called Tsitsikamma. Tsitsikamma is it's the highest density of dairy cows in South Africa, and it's a really good grazing area. But I suppose quite uniquely on his farm, he used technology to manage his cows so well. An example of how he used technology. He had a system basically whereby all his cows were weighed every day, every milking coming into the parlour. So the cows came onto a rotary parlour, and they were fed then on one point on the rotary parlour that had a number of different ingredients coming onto the parlour. So basically what the system done, it weighed every cow, every milking, and it calculated the cow's ideal weight. So every day every cow got fed individually. So when it came to breeding for the cow, it made sure that she was gaining weight. So the system optimized efficiency in terms of feed usage. So it wasn't feeding cows when they shouldn't be getting fed. It was only feeding them when they should be getting fed. I suppose, how did that benefit? That really impressed me. The likes of that stuff just blows my mind. It really raised my expectations in terms of what you can do in terms of animals, in terms of agriculture, and so on and so forth. I suppose, how did that benefit Alltech? I suppose after that we brought a number of groups of farmers back to that farm, and a number of farmers installed that very system since the trip. So one of them incidentally went on to win the UK Dairy Farm of the Year 2 years ago. So I suppose, what did that do for Alltech? We brought Nigel Locke back, and we told Irish dairy farmers about the system that really highlighted how you can individually manage animals to their maximum efficiency. So that helped us, the company Alltech, in terms of our brand. I suppose it brought us to a new level with dairy farmers, that we were trying to convey a responsible message to our customers about how they should farm and how they should look at improving efficiency and therefore sustainability on their farms.
Yeah, and Kieran, you've spent a number of months and a couple of years, I think, out in Central America. Why is it important for a young graduate of agricultural science to actually work in the market and then come back to a career in Ireland? What's the key importance there?
Well, Central America, obviously, it gives you the opportunity to learn the crop. So I started on a 2,500 hectare pineapple operation in Costa Rica. So I learned all about the production of the crop from beginning to end, right from planting, applications of pesticides, fertilizer, harvest, pack house, quality control. And I learned the process from beginning to end all the way through. Similarly, I repeated that same experience, but in bananas in Belize, and I learned the operation from beginning to end there. Coming back to Ireland, that gave me a unique understanding of the process from the beginning to end, gave me opportunity to solve problems that existed within the supply chain. So that knowledge is critical.
Is it much different? I'm sure you didn't learn about pineapples, banana growing in UCD doing ag science. Is it more difficult, or what? How do you learn? How do you actually learn how to grow bananas?
Basically, you learn it on the ground. We've got some very, very good agronomists over there, but you learn it on the ground, following the process from beginning to end. So like I said, right from planting all the way through, and you work in placements in each of these areas. So we would have an example in our pineapple operation in Costa Rica. We have a team of 800 people, but you would spend time with each of those 8 departments across the sectors, across the 2-year placement.
Does the ag science degree, your undergraduate degree, did that give a good base for the understanding of growing a crop?
Absolutely, and coming from a tillage farm also give a unique understanding. You know, many of the principles are the same, many of the challenges are the same. You know, the same challenge that exists here in Ireland, weather. You know, people think of Costa Rica as being, you know, this lovely dry country, but it's a tropical country, and you know, you have the same challenges of very, very dry periods and very, very wet periods. You know, the rainy season can be particularly difficult with land preparation. Same challenges that, you know, Irish farmers are facing right this minute.
When we think of Costa Rica, I suppose we think of tropical climate, lovely sunny days, tourism. I was lucky enough to travel to Costa Rica just before Christmas. What I experienced, and I visited the Fifes farms, what I experienced is the farms are 4 or 5 hours from the nearest city. It's quite isolated. How did you cope living in conditions like that, and was that a challenge?
Yeah, it was certainly a challenge, but it was very, very rewarding experience. Basically, I loved my job over there. I spent, you know, the hardest day I found over there was a Sunday when there was no work to do. 6 days a week was a fantastic environment, but it gave you an opportunity to travel and do activities, you know, that you would never experience in Ireland. So on my Sunday, I went off white water rafting or zip lining through the rainforest, or, you know, visiting different areas of the country. So yeah, no, it was a really, really rewarding experience.
Sounds very exciting. Moving to Sarah. Sarah, you're marketing manager with Thoroughbred Ireland Marketing. I suppose what I'm interested in is where has your job brought you, and how often are you on a plane?
Well, just to give you a little bit of background, because I guess the thoroughbred industry is kind of different to all the others. In Ireland, we're the 4th largest producer of thoroughbred foals in the world. So that means our exports about 33 different countries every year. So thoroughbred horses are going all around the world. And what we're tasked with in Irish Thoroughbred Marketing is getting people to come to Ireland, you know, meeting people, promoting that the Irish horses are the best in the world. It's funny, we say about all the rain here in Ireland, and we're sick of it, but it's actually that very element which makes Ireland such a great producer, the temperate climate, the green grass all year round. So it's one of the elements that makes the thoroughbred horse such a good product. Even though our offices are based in the Curragh, which is racing headquarters, there's just 9 people on our team. And from that, it's rare that all of us are in the office at the one time. We are all traveling the globe. Today, my colleagues are gone to Dubai, and yesterday one went to South America. I look after mainly England, Europe, Scandinavia, and America. So, I mean, I get in a plane tomorrow, I'm back on Sunday, I'm in a plane again the following week. I think every other week now until June, I'm away.
So typically, when you arrive in America, what are you going to? The likes of Keeneland?
Yeah, so we go, it's really key race meetings or race sales. It's a networking. So when I've been to last year, I went to Keeneland in Kentucky, so that's their big, where all the big farms are. Visited the farms, met the farm owners. You meet American clients. Obviously I'm marketing manager, so I run all our advertising, all the marketing, digital marketing, but there's nothing like face-to-face. It's building the relationships, and that's why from how marketing has evolved, we still make the market visits. So when we go away, it's often sponsorships of races, or we host events, information, on why you should come to Ireland. Always promoting the Irish successes. The Irish horses win all around the world, so we're creating awareness about that. And then with promoting Ireland, we aim to be the first point of contact for anyone coming to Ireland in relation to all aspects of the thoroughbred industry. So when they come, we look after them, we make it as easygoing as possible, so they don't think, well, it's a bit awkward to get to Ireland. Actually, no, it's fine. There's Dublin, we can bring them around the country. There's some fantastic farms in Ireland, and we just make it a really unique experience.
Okay. Cathal, maybe back to you. I suppose we're about the same vintage, and we think we're still young. Travel is seen as an opportunity for young people to go travel. Do you see, I suppose now that you're in your current role, you're working for a multinational company, do you see your career moving more international as you move up through a company and as you get older? And what are the challenges around that piece?
Yeah, I suppose, so I'm currently country manager of Alltech Ireland. I manage a sales team of 10 people here in Ireland. So obviously my next step is a more international role, to be regional director, which would mean looking after a number of countries. I suppose in terms of relocation, it probably wouldn't mean relocation. I could travel to a number of these countries from Ireland. And I think that's one point. In a lot of instances, like Kieran's instance, you have to move. But in a lot of other instances, working internationally does not mean that you have to move from Ireland either. So it would mean for me a lot of travel outside the country. I don't know, would it mean an awful lot big difference, because I'm away maybe 2-3 nights a week anyway. But if you were in a job where you're home every night, it would mean that you'd be away from home. So that requires flexibility in terms of your family. I have a young kid and a wife, so I suppose those things have to be considered as well. So it requires flexibility in terms of your family, and your dedication to work. Probably mean you mightn't be home every weekend, but I suppose I'm not home every weekend anyway. So for me, it would mean traveling to other countries and staying away maybe a bit more. But I'm already doing that, so not much more either.
And is that something that you sign up to when you start off in an international company like Alltech? Is that something you realise at the start, and that's expected? If you want to move up through a company, you need to be flexible to jump on a plane or be available to travel, or maybe spend 6 months in a region?
Well, if you join any company today, I think it's nearly expected. The landscape of the employment landscape, I think, has changed a lot. In that I'm working in Ireland and I'm still away 2 or 3 nights a week. So that's the new norm, I think. That there's very few jobs out there. It's harder and harder to get a job where you're home at 6 o'clock every evening. You're in at 9 or half 9. There are jobs out there like that, but it's more and more difficult. I think companies are becoming more internationalized, certainly more nationalized. So that whole aspect has changed. And I think young people need to think of being flexible if they want to work with a multinational company. It's something I enjoy. I don't see it as a chore being away. I'm usually busy at something anyway, meeting a colleague, meeting a customer. I'd rarely go for dinner at night on my own. It would be always with someone, a customer and a colleague. And I suppose these people are people that you generally get on with anyway. So I don't know, does that answer your question? No, and I think the employment landscape for a lot of young people coming up now is absolutely changing.
Yeah. Kieran, maybe switching to you, that I suppose you have the opposite. You've come back to Ireland, having had the experience abroad. And again, just maybe to focus in for people here, that what benefit, what's the real benefit in your day-to-day job that, you know, when you're looking at a live product in a store, trying to ripen it, I'm sure things go wrong. It's not always rosy. What's the benefit of having been in the markets where the plants are grown?
Okay, so our main product is bananas. It's one of the top 3 selling items in the supermarket. So it's a very, very high volume product and a very, very fast moving product with limited shelf life. Really, we are ripening our bananas on a 7-day program, and we've got 1 day to sell that product. Okay, we've got 26 different all the one variety, but 26 different types of packaging formats. So we've only got 1 day to sell that product, and we've got to make it happen. Having been to the farms, it gives you a unique understanding of where the product's coming from, and certain farms are more suited to certain packaging. Similarly, we would regularly have growers over from Central America. So we'd be dealing with them on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, and on a yearly basis. Similarly, when I go back to spend time in Central America, like I've been back this summer, it gives me a very, very good understanding of where the product's coming from.
Language, quickly. Was language a barrier when you were out in Central America, and did you have to learn Spanish?
Yeah, well, obviously, predominantly in Central America, it's Spanish speaking. So for the first 4 weeks of my graduate program, I spent times learning intensive Spanish. So I lived with a Spanish family and spent 3 hours a day learning Spanish. Very, very challenging. You wanted to learn the language so hard, you just couldn't get it into your head. You had Irish and German and all sorts of languages you never even knew you had coming out, other than Spanish. But eventually, after a period of 2 or 3 months, it just clicked,
So you had no Spanish when you went out there, landed in there, immersed completely with Spanish-speaking people. How long does it realistically take to grasp it for conversation?
Within 2 to 3 months, you will grasp it. I was quite quickly after the 4 weeks of intensive Spanish managing a team of 40 people, so you had no other option other than to get by. But your farm Spanish will be really good, and then you'll struggle with basic other conversational Spanish. I remember being in a restaurant and I didn't know the language for cutlery, so I had to ask them for a shovel, because that was the farm Spanish I had.
Quickly to the other two, is language a barrier for yourselves in the business, Sarah?
No, it's definitely an advantage for some of the markets, but I think once you've a common ground, you'll always break through. You'll make yourself understood.
Cathal, you look like a man that has about 5 or 6 languages.
No, no, absolutely not. Generally, in all tech, you must know English to work with the company. So if you're with different customers in another country, there's always an all tech person with you who can translate. So absolutely not.
Finally, then, just a question to each of you. What advice, I suppose, would you give for graduates today? Anything from your own learnings? Sarah, how does someone get into a career like yours?
Yeah, well, there's lots of equine courses that you can do. There's Horse Racing Ireland have a stand here. So you can go that route or a different route. As we're talking about travel, there is a course that Darley Flying Start you can do that you can get to travel around the world. So that's an educational course that they usually take on graduates. Other than that, it's the usual, the hard work. I'm very fortunate that I found the mix. I actually love my job, so it doesn't feel like work. But if you're passionate about agri, try and find a niche that you can tie it in together, because it makes your days a lot easier.
Kieran, any advice for people here?
Yeah, on graduation, I was in a lucky position to have a number of job offers, and at the time I went and speak to the Dean of Agriculture, Jim Phelan, and he gave me some advice, and it was just to paraphrase a Robert Frost quote. He told me, 2 roads diverge in the wood. I took the road less travelled, and it made all the difference. And similarly with my career, it was a tough, a tough ask to give up all in Ireland and move to Central America, but it really was rewarding.
Yeah, that's great. And finally, Cathal, the last word.
Yeah, Owen, I suppose just like to say first of all that there's tremendous opportunities out there internationally. We must remember that 80% of our agricultural produce is exported. So, obviously there's customers buying this produce, so we're going to need to interact with this customer, and we're going to need to do that more and more so in the future as we try and add value to that produce. So I'd say to students, there's going to be tremendous opportunities, particularly in the future, in terms of working internationally through Irish agriculture. And also remember that, Irish people are liked no matter where you go. We don't have any enemies, unlike some other countries. The owner of Alltech, Pierce Lyons, actually tries to recruit Irish people because we're, I suppose, a hospitable race. We get on with people. We're friendly people. So I think, remember that. There's massive opportunity out there, and Irish people are very suited to international roles. And I suppose the three things that, when I'm trying to hire someone, I look for, I want somebody that works hard, that gets on with people and is fun. That's an absolute must. And somebody that has a lot of emotional intelligence or basic cop on. If you have those three things, you're a long way to working with any company, and in particular an international company.
Okay, thanks, Cathal. So I think what you've heard here today, there's great, exciting opportunities outside of Ireland for graduates and for people looking for a career in agriculture. I'm very excited about the travel piece. I think travel broadens the mind. I'm a big believer in getting mud on the boots, get into markets, understand where our food goes or where our food comes from. I'd like to thank my panelists here, Cathal, Sarah and Kieran. So maybe join me, and I'd like to also thank Open Air for their sponsorship of today. So maybe just join me in a round of applause for our panelists. So our next session now.